Welcome back to the Worthy for 30 podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tash. With me today is Derek Ting, CEO and founder of TextNow. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the way that Derek and I got connected, I've been working with his communications team who said, hey, we have another mission-driven, purpose-driven founder, Derek, who's he and his team are helping to democratize communications. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And we're here today, to talk about TextNow and the mission and the company that you started when you were first in college and now scaled it to hundreds of millions of dollars. Tell us a little bit about TextNow, because I see the word free when I went to the website. I dug into some of the features, but we'd just love to know and of course the listeners would love to know the business model.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's an app called TextNow. You download it on your phone, and then we give you phone service through the app for free. Mm-hmm. And the way it works is that once you download our app, it knows your location, and then it will give you phone numbers to choose from local to your area code. And then you pick the phone number you want. Once you pick the phone number you want, you can text and call for free inside our app. And the way we make it work is there's ads in the app, not intrusive at all. You see it while you text, but they never get in your way. And also there's a full screen ad when you end the phone call. But other than that, it's a totally seamless experience. And there's a couple of ways people use it. One way is if you just want a second phone line for free, you can just download our app. You don't have to pay for a second phone line. Uses your existing data connection when you're off Wi-Fi. The other way people use it is if they just don't want to pay for phone service anymore, then they could just install our app as their phone service, as their only phone service, without paying for a bill. And then we also have a SIM card they can order in our app for just the price of shipping, basically. And then the SIM card, they can also use it outside of Wi-Fi using the cell towers. And they basically have phone service without having to pay a nickel or a dime.
Oh, wow. So, I am a big wireless consumer. I have my own iPhone. So if I'm interested, because again, the features that TechNow provide are very enticing. So I just download the app and that's it. I cancel my current contract with my phone service provider. Just love to know those steps.
Yeah. So you download our app, get order the SIM card. It comes in the mail. Put the SIM card in, and then as soon as you have the SIM card in, it's activated, and then you can use your app without on your Wi-Fi connection or outside on the cell towers. And then also we have a basic free data plan you can use that. You can use email, you can use maps, you can use all the basic apps. And we're working on expanding that. And then we have if you want to stream TikTok or do other things and you want a full data pass, we also offer that on a pay-as-you-go basis. So you can get it for a day, you can get it for a week, you can get it for a month at very, very low cost as well. So the idea is you don't have to pay a huge monthly fee. It's flexible. You can use a free version, or the free version is not enough. You can upgrade for just time that you need it. You don't have to pay for what you don't need or don't use. So that's it.
So you started in 2009 when you were a college student. We're here in 2025. How many consumers worldwide are using TextNow?
We've got roughly 10 million monthly users. And that number fluctuates by a couple million every month. But yeah, roughly 10 million.
So 10 million. So in 2009, you're starting this business, as a college student. Why was making or democratizing telecommunications and data, now, especially data now in the mobile age, so important to you?
Yeah, it was a personal problem I had. Back in the college days, I remember getting my first iPhone, literally the first iPhone that came out. And I didn't have amazing credit. I didn't have a ton of money. And I know back then when you got an iPhone, the only option you had was to go with AT&T. Yeah. Back then it was not very flexible. You had to pay $20 a month for calling. You had to pay $20 a month for internet, which is not that much internet. It was 500 megs. And then you had to pay $20 a month for texting. And the texting fee was what really rubbed me the wrong way, because I was already paying them $20 a month for calling, $20 a month for data. I was like, why did I pay you $20 a month again for texting when I'm already paying you for the internet? Because a lot of internet services let you even text for free. So it just rubbed me the wrong way. It was borderline offensive, that they wanted to charge you $20 for texting. And I just thought, hey, I could just make an app that like text for free to solve that problem. So that's how it first started. I published the app back then. The App Store first just came out, and also the idea of being able to just like anyone, like even a college student, be able to like make an app, publish it for everyone to use. Like that's an exciting concept. So I knew I had to like take advantage of that. And so when I published the app, I thought a lot of people will be downloading it to not pay for texting. But it turns out, actually, like most of the people that downloaded it didn't even have a phone plan to begin with. And the way we knew that was when we looked at our app analytics, which was really surprising. 90% of the people using our app were using it on iPod touches.
Okay.
And I was like, why are they using it on iPod touches? I don't get it. And eventually it took me a while to get it. I was like, oh, because they it's not the texting. They can't even pay AT&T anything for like the phone service. They have to get the iPod touch instead. But then they still want the iPod touch to be able to communicate. So they download our app to be able to communicate on their iPod touch. And that was the aha moment. That was the aha moment where it's not about making texting free. It's about making phone service free. There's people that can't even afford phone service. We got to make phone service free. And that began our multi-year long obsession with figuring out how can we make phone service free.
Gotcha. So make phone service free, you get more people who otherwise would not have access to a phone like you and I have, or anyone that we know, like in our immediate circle, right? Everyone right now at least. So it's like, oh, I can get an iPhone. There's some flexibility in terms of the calling and data plan that I have, but I have access to it. But then there's also a cohort of a lot of people who don't have that luxury or that privilege of being able to afford even the entry level iPhone and being able to choose their data package. So you're making it more accessible to these people, to this cohort. But what is like early on, what was some of the feedback? Like I imagine as a founder, as an entrepreneur, getting that feedback and trying to understand, is it texting? Is it is it the communications, the voice communications of iPod touches? Like what were some of those verbatims that you were hearing from those early customers?
Yeah, the most common feedback we got was, hey, it'd be really awesome if your app worked without Wi-Fi. Because back then, like we didn't have like data plans or anything like that. It was just the app, and you gotta use it on Wi-Fi, and even on Wi-Fi, the app wouldn't work. And so that was like the biggest feature request, like you can make your app work without Wi-Fi. And then that's kind of like the beginning also of kind of our like obsession with figuring out how can we make the cellular of it free as well. How can we make the data component free as well? Because that part was very expensive and really difficult to make free. And so then it was a tough nut. It is a tough nut to crack, and I think that's kind of where we were like, challenge accepted. Like let's figure out how to do it. And their playbook for all of it is first make it paid, and then over time we'll figure out ways to make it cheaper, right? And until a point where it's free. And so that was the biggest feature request. And at first, we didn't really think too much about it. We thought like we can't defy the laws of physics. We can't make something work without Wi-Fi. But then our wheels started turning, and that's when we realized, hey, well, we could just partner with a carrier. We could like instead of we could be friends with them. We can be frenemies with them, right? Like let's work together with the carriers. I think there's carriers that want to help our business grow. So fortunately we do, and we partner with a carrier for us to use their network when our customers need to use their network when they're outside their home, outside of Wi-Fi. So yeah, and that kind of started our multi-year long journey, and we were able to at this point make not just texting and calling free. We have a free basic data plan, and now we're working on just making like a free data plan that has less restrictions, and eventually we're going to have a completely free data plan. And then eventually, like paying for phone service will be as crazy as paying for email. Like that's the we're heading to.
It's amazing. It's like you're more or less making telecommunications a utility, like water and electricity, and it's like again, there's some of course there's some subsidy, there's something that you need to pay, but it should be like minimal to nothing.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, because you're making it super democratized. Like now that you're working with there's that freemium, that ad model, like those first sponsors or those first advertising partners, like what were some of their, let's say, reticence to saying like, yeah, it sounds all well and good, I'm serving, you're serving millions of customers, I just don't know, like I don't know that my my ad or my message is really going to land with those folks? Like, what were some of those obstacles, and getting those early ad partners on board?
Yeah, we sell our ads directly, but we also sell a lot of our ads indirectly. So there's two ways we sell ads. One is we have our own sales team. We talk to advertise directly. The other way we sell it is there's an auction where we auction our ads, and then people just bid on them in the open market. So sometimes we don't even know who the advertiser is advertising, because whoever wins the auction, they just
Right.
their ad in there, and then that depends on kind of like who they're targeting and all that, right? There's all technology behind the auction. So, but at the same time, like we happen to have an audience that there are advertisers that want to reach, and it's not the easiest people to reach because a lot of them are diverse. A lot of them are just generally, you're not going to walk into Facebook or all these different platforms and be like, hey, I want this audience, and you're going to exactly get that audience. So we're fortunate to have an audience that like a lot of marketers like want to reach and provide a very effective and unique way to address it. So we've got a lot of like quick serve restaurants as advertisers as work really well. We have a lot of like financial services companies that work really well. So advertisers like that they see a lot of value success reaching that audience that we have.
And can you define that audience composition? You said it's diverse. Like any sort of not like specific percentages, but just like in terms of demographics and psychographics and geographies. We'd love to know again what makes this audience diverse or unique.
Yeah, it's like so we're only in the U.S., right? So some Canada. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is our customers generally skew like lower income, but not like but there's a broad mix. Our customers aren't buying like luxury items like Rolexes, so Rolex cannot be an advertiser. Our customers are value driven, right? So like think of that mix, right? Like so that mix of like people that are like just budget conscious, so they may be any income, to people that are like, hey, look, like I'm not making ends meet all the time, right? So I need help, and that's where we would come in and like, hey, look, we're gonna help you not have to decide whether it's phone service or something else really really important, right? Like the phone service is taken care of, right? So that's the audience we help, and then there's no specific like location, like we're nationwide,
Sure.
every state, rural to urban, like we serve everyone.
Okay, so U.S. national, a little bit of Canada, but you said something that's very that I want to dig in on is some folks within the audience or the consumers sometimes have trouble making ends meet. So did that reveal itself like again as you're scaling the product and the product base, like, hey, we have a real impact here, or like were you thinking that, did you have that in mind as you published that first app for TextNow?
That was not something that we initially expected. I think like like for my example, like I was a college student, so yeah, money was not like unlimited for me. Like every dollar mattered, but I wouldn't say I wasn't making ends meet, right? Like I was making ends meet. Like I knew I could like buy lunch if I wanted to, right? I just wasn't eating filet mignon every day, but like I was
like most college students, right?
yeah, but I mean, also like for me, paying $20 a month for something I didn't need to pay for, that was it was a big deal, right? Like and so I didn't think of it that way. I thought everyone would be interested in it, but then and then when it went in the market, and then what we saw was like we were making a difference, more of a difference than we thought, right? Like I think that was very motivating for us,
right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's some consumers who reach out to you and say, I love your service, but this month I just can't pay for it. Right? Am I off base in thinking that? Like, people, again, consumers who are having trouble making ends meet. The reason why I want to dig in on this, Derek, is because again, the show is really premised on speaking with folks like yourself, who are doing, who are chasing your professional ambitions at the same time, making a positive impact in the world around you and your team.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty exemplary, that you're having these sort of not aha moments, but these things are uncovering themselves organically as you continue to scale and then continue to add new features. So again, are those specific occurrences again where consumers are reaching out to you, or are there other initiatives that TextNow and your team have planned, again, to give back to the communities that it serves? Or again, I know it's national, but
Yeah.
are there other give back, do good type things that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think our core belief as a company is that like phone service is not like a luxury item. Like the phone service is like a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, think of your phone number. Your phone number is, I would say, more important than your social security number, right? Like you needed to get a job, you needed to get a doctor's appointment.
Yep.
Thing you need to do, you need a phone number. And
Right.
before we came along, if you couldn't afford the first month of service or the next month of service, just cash, you're just stranded, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where we come in and say, look, it's not a luxury item. It's not like a nice to have. It's a must have. We're here to make it completely free. Initially, it wasn't like we weren't aware of the impact we're making, and then when
Yeah.
we learned more about the impact we were making, we were leading in heavily. And even today, we realize our customers need data service, right? They like just talk and text is important. It's critical, but also nowadays, like getting mobile data is also critical, right? Being able to
Yeah.
like load a website on the go, like look up information on the go, right? Like that is critical. And so that is the next frontier for us. And that's the motivating factor is it's too expensive and not accessible. And we're democratizing not just talk and text, but we're democratizing data, mobile
Yeah.
data, mobile internet.
Right, because like I can imagine, someone again, I don't know why I'm thinking like Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness, but you have someone who's like in between, they're on the go and they're preparing for an interview, and they don't have a home base or a cafe to go to, but the only thing they have is their phone, and like to your point, they're on the go and they're trying to do last minute research before they go into that interview, and that last minute research could be the deciding factor, perhaps, for them landing that job and again changing their entire outlook on life
Yeah.
because they had that access to
Yeah.
that
And
information.
also, even if they got the job, they need working phone service to know they got the job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean that's a common thing. It's like, look, because a lot of customers said, look, because of TextNow, like we were able to break that cycle. We were able to like break that cycle of not having money because like now they're able to get a job, they can get the
Yeah.
call back. Right before it's like, oh, you have phone service 1 month, and then the first of the month rolls along, and then you don't have phone service, and then you got that important call back. Well, too bad, right? You don't have that $30 in your bank account on that day, or $50 or whatever on that bank account on that day.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that call back, right? And so you start from
No.
square
Yeah.
one again, right? Like, so I think that's the problem we're solving. Is it's just like, yeah, like doesn't matter if you pay or not. Like the phone service is always there, always has your back.
It always has your back. No, it's incredible. The other thing that I read as I was, preparing for our conversation today is how intentional you are and your team and I imagine your senior management team is on the company culture. So in terms of like your passion for helping and of course democratizing telecommunications, how do you make sure that sort of that mission pervades the company culture and the people that you continue to hire?
I think the most important thing is like any other company, is just making sure like there's a good match. I think I think every company has like something different and unique. They have to offer, right? Whether it's a perk, whether it's compensation, whether it's the type of
Hmm.
work that they're working on. For us, it's like get to come here and make a difference. Come here and
Yeah.
not just apply your skills to like make money, but apply your skills to make money and also make a difference, right? And I think for us, attracting people to our
Hmm.
company that cares about both, yeah, is paramount. So to kind of maintain the culture that we want. And then there's also a lot of other things like, in terms of our core values is being able to like we give people a lot of autonomy here. So being able to just like make good judgment calls on behalf of the customer, on behalf of the company,
Hmm.
is an important one as well, right? This is not a company you come into where there's a lot of process, lots of rules, a lot of like tight guardrails. The
Yeah.
leash is really long here, and we trust people in our company to make smart and reasonable judgments. And then so when we bring in people, we gotta find folks that appreciate that want that,
Hmm.
and then won't abuse it, right?
Right.
And so I think that's a big part of keeping your company culture.
Right. And in terms of that autonomy, is that something that can be taught, or is that something that you expect, that person who's coming on board to already have that sense of ownership? Like, I just, because I know there's some different schools of thought in terms of leadership. I'd love to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, I would say there's no right and wrong way. I think what I've learned is it's like if you kind of like try to do just what experts tell you to do, like the company will lose its soul, will lose its DNA. So it's really important the company just stays true to who it is. And then through that, you're clear about who you are. Then people who are like the right fit and who are not the right fit will kind of work itself out, right? And it's only when you're not true to who you are and you're trying to be everything to everyone, things get unclear and confusing. But when you're clear about who you are, you can like go out and make sure the folks that you're bringing on board resonate. Because there's going to be people that are like, hey, look, I just want people to like tell me what's acceptable and not acceptable. And the gray area is not something I could do. And there's going to be people that are like, no, I hate rules. I hate things that are too rigid. Like, I want the long leash. And so everyone's different. It could be a personal preference. And it's just about being clear about who you are. So then you attract the people that align with who you are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. That was my point. It was just like you gotta be who you are. You gotta be honest and authentic. Be who you are. Yeah.
And be who you are, and like again, understand what you're trying, what the company's trying to achieve. The other thing that I read too is that TextNow has raised one outside funding round, right? And you've been bootstrapped ever since.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And that time where you raised outside capital was it due to some sort of cash crunch? I think I read.
Yeah. I think we made just some like big investments that year and the year before, and then also we didn't manage, so we weren't as experienced with running a business, so we weren't as disciplined and in managing just our money and the cash flow at the time, and we hit a rough patch where we just needed a cash infusion.
Gotcha. And like how so from that cash crunch to elongate the runway, like how much time did you have to make that decision? Like, oh shit, like we need to raise money.
I think like beginning of the year, like that looked like the case, and then we started the process in the spring, and then I think it was until like the summers. I think in the fall was when it closed, so it just came in the nick of time, basically. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you sweating like waiting for the that term sheet to close?
Yeah, I mean the closing part wasn't the hard part. I would say like once we found the right partner and it was the right fit, like we both were very motivated to close it. The lawyers took a long time, but at the end of the day, if both parties just see a good match, then like you make it work, right? You make it happen. I think the hardest part was actually kissing all the frogs. And
Interesting.
yeah, and that was quite a process. Yeah, there's a lot of frog kissing before we found the prince. So yeah.
Before you find that one right outside investor. The reason why I bring it up, the one thing that I also love talking to founders about is resilience and resolve. So I had Cass and Mike Lazaro, who founded Buddy Media. They just wrote a book, Shoveling Shit, which a love story, which is their ode to the founder journey and the entrepreneurial journey. But it's also like a firsthand experience of like what they had to experience. Again, shoveling shit. Like they started a business, golf.com, that was sold, and then it wasn't sold, and they had to buy it back, and then they had to find outside investors in a very short amount of time. At the same time, they had to manage a team and payroll. So were there any of these, like outside of that potential cash crunch, were there any other sort of like, again, stand out in your mind, like very challenging times that you and your team had to get through to get to that next phase or step within the TextNow journey?
I mean, one example that really stuck out was just like one time I was like burning the midnight oil and I accidentally wiped out our customer database. I would say that was the most difficult time. And then had to rebuild. And the funny thing, well, not funny at the time, it was like devastating at the time, was I didn't have like a backup. I like had nothing. So I had to rebuild it basically from scraps of like information to rebuild the database. And eventually it took like literally all night again. And
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. And how long ago was this?
That was when we first started the company. It was like, yeah, it was like not even like a year in.
And how many how many employees did you have at the time?
I think that was like maybe just like my co-founder and I, plus like one intern, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that must have been a fun conversation to have. Like, hey, by the way, guys, I accidentally deleted the customer database.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, they were asleep, and then when
Okay.
they woke up, it was fixed.
It was fixed. Okay, good. Oh wow. But I bet like through that night you're like, yeah, like okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to restore this? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a very prickly situation to get through, especially when you're servicing and you're base your business again on subscription and service. Wow, that
Yeah.
is a bit of a hairy situation. And in terms of who you look like, in terms going back to company culture and making sure the person that you bring on is the right fit, and you have you're meshing and integrating the right people. Who do you look towards, like, or who are your mentors or founder aspirants of people that you follow, like not to say tell you how to do things, but just give you that inspiration as you continue to build?
Yeah, like other entrepreneurs that like resonate a lot with me. I would say the person that resonates most with me is probably Richard Branson, just because he doesn't it's kind of similar. He just wants to his genuine purpose isn't trying to make money. He just wants to build something interesting, build something that makes a big positive difference in the world, and has fun while he does it. And I think that resonates a lot with me and our business and how we want to do things.
Right. So Richard Branson, I'm just wondering too, like, you mentioned you started the business, you were in college, you were upset, with the cost of, like, why am I paying $20 a month for texting when I already paid $20 for calling? So you became obsessive with it. Do you think Richard Branson is obsessive on something that he finds like annoying, or maybe there's a white space in the marketplace, and perhaps Virgin company can fill it? Like, how would you describe his entrepreneurial philosophy?
Well, I think any successful entrepreneur has to be obsessed. Otherwise, there's no way it will work out, because it's so every problem is just it's just there's so many things to go through. It's like you gotta be pretty stubborn about it, right, to get to somewhere, right? Because most rational people kind of just give up, I would say, and it takes the irrational, obsessed people go all the way. But I would say, yeah, I mean, he's a great example of obsessed. I think the most interesting example was he went from going doing records to starting an airline, and everyone told him it's insane.
Right.
But he stuck to it. He stuck with it. And not because it was rational. It was just he had an idea and he became obsessed with it. He was determined to make it work.
He was definitely determined. Yeah. Did he go from records to airlines? I'll never.
Yeah.
I understand airlines to space travel. I understand, but from one totally disparate place to another.
Yeah, and now he launched a cruise ship too, right? So anyway, but yeah, I think he wouldn't do it because it made money. He just did it because it was his obsession. He loved the idea.
Right. So when you come to it, yes, with a startup entrepreneur, with a founder, yes, you need to be obsessive. You need to see your vision pull through. But when does it hit a point where you're I keep doing this thing and it's not, and I think I know, I think this is how it should be done, but it's not really hitting what it needs to hit. So how do you know when to pivot? When do you know you need to change directions? Is there an example, based on your product roadmap, based on the features that are already in market, where that feature wasn't the original, but it was tinkered with, or it was tweaked and iterated to what the final product is now?
I think the most important thing to think about is whether or not, whether it's software or a service or a product, whatever it is that we're bringing to the world, is it solving a problem? Is it solving an important enough problem for enough people? I think it's great to be obsessed with something, but if you're the only person that it matters to, it's not going to do a whole lot. So it's got to be an intersection of something that you really care deeply about, but also it solves just a major problem in the world and for a lot of people. Phone service is a great example because everyone hates paying for phone service. Everyone needs phone service. So if someone came along with the alternative to keep phone service and not have to pay for it, that solves a problem, right? So I think whatever it is, it's just making sure it solves the problem, and a lot of people have that problem. right? And they care a lot about having that problem solved. And when you got that, then that's what I call product market fit. Until entrepreneurs sometimes like they over invest in an idea before they know they've accomplished that step. And I think that's where trouble happens, because you don't want to burn all your fuel on the wrong idea, on the idea that doesn't solve the problem for a lot of people. You want to save your
Gotcha. So
fuel.
like save your fuel, keep your powder dry. So like for you and your team, like let's say you come up with, I imagine it's not, it's
Yeah.
you're not the only idea guy. I imagine there are other idea people
Yeah.
on your team, but you or whomever else comes up with an idea. Like what? So step one is that evaluation. You're asking that question, like, does this solve a need or a problem for a large swath of people? After
Mhm.
that, what are some of the other questions that you begin to ask to say, maybe not, we need to again further evaluate, like what are some of those
Yeah.
questions?
Well, yeah, the first question is, does this solve a problem? Then the second question should be, okay, what are the potential solutions? Then the third question is, does any of these solutions work, and how well does it work, right? So I think like for us, kind of our product principle is kind of the lean startup principle, which is we start with the most basic thing to like get market feedback, and then once the market feedback's positive, we continue investing in the thing. We don't kind of do the thing where we build the perfect thing
Right.
and then figure out if the market wants it. We start with a really basic version. So for like, just give a little concrete example of a new feature we want, right? Like the most basic thing we could do is just like come up with like a wireframe of it, like a mock-up of it, and then we'll show like 100 people or 10 people what it is, and then we'll get their feedback. So that's even before we even build anything. It's just really like a mock-up of it, and then if that looks good, then we move to the next step, which is like building like a really basic version of it, and then we like roll it out to like a small percentage of people, and then we like A/B test it to see like, does this thing that we have, like, does it that have it more happy than people that don't have it, and if they are, then we give it to everyone, right? And then we like then come up with the next version of it. So that's kind of like this, basically like you're always trying to like every little piece of work that you do along the way, you're getting like market feedback, and then you can like adjust. You course. Yeah. The
Gotcha.
analogy I use is like you don't want to like drive with a blindfold on and then take off your blindfold when you're done driving. You want to be able to see where you're going, so you can adjust the
Yes.
steering wheel as you go, right? So
Yes. Yeah. No,
yeah,
absolutely. I think a common misconception is that entrepreneurs and founders are risk tolerant. I think they're not risk averse, but they want to take calculated risks, right? There's definitely some, it's like building the parachute on the way down, but you want to be very intentional with how you're building that parachute on the way down out of the
yeah,
plane. The other thing that I read about, your philosophy is, it's more so, and I've heard this from entrepreneurs before, is to slow down to go fast, like what you're doing, with these like stage gate processes for new features. Like you do the wireframe, you get some feedback, and then next phase.
yeah.
You're very intentional with how you're getting that evaluation, because I imagine other founders are like, we got the money, we've got the resources, let's just build it and let's see if it sticks or not, right? Like, am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it's just being clear about what you want, like fast. You
Yeah.
want to build it fast, or do you want to like learn as fast as possible? And I think everyone should optimize towards learning as soon as possible and spending the least amount of resources to like learn, right? Yeah, because learning is always the goal. Because without learning, you don't really know what to build, how to build it, to whom you're building it for. So the key to
Right.
everything is just learning. That's the key. The learning, so it's a mindset shift, because a lot of people think like building the actual thing is the goal. Building the actual thing is not the goal. Learning what the market like thinks or will react to the thing you're building, that's actually the goal.
As how people will react and how people would use
Yeah,
that thing that you're building. Yeah, that's
that's
the
the
objective.
actual goal. Yeah.
That's the objective. And is that like memorialized like in the employee handbooks? No, I think that's a great takeaway from the conversation. Is like, you think it's building that thing, but it's really learning what the consumer actually wants.
Yeah. Yeah. So our goals are like aligned to that in terms of like the metrics that we track are like a measure of how the market adopts or perceives our product, whether it's the number of customers we have,
Yeah.
whether it's how many do we retain from a different cohort on average, or how many people churn, or to like how they like rate us in terms of how happy they are with our product or service, how likely to recommend our product or service. I think those are kind of like examples of tangible numbers that when they move, it means it's like we've made a difference in our product offering. So that's actually the end goal. If we built a feature that was like beautiful but like didn't move any of those numbers, I would say like we didn't really get closer to getting the job done.
Right. Like, again, it's like the myopia that some people have is like, okay, we built something because we thought it was great, but we actually didn't talk to anybody outside who would actually buy that thing that we thought was great, and now it fell flat on its face. And yeah, like I also saw like a stat that TextNow, I don't know if it was you or someone else, 50% of your customer acquisition is through word of mouth referrals, through people, through TextNow customers referring other customers.
Yeah, actually, like I would say the first, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years in business, we didn't even spend money on marketing. The only marketing we did was just like me like emailing like bloggers basically, and word of mouth. And then we started spending money on marketing because it became more of a multiplier than and made sense. So, but yeah, like that's still like ingrained in our company. Like DNA is we need to build something that people are excited about and they'll tell their friends and family about. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Right. What are we doing here? Yeah. The cost of acquisition, the cost of getting through the algorithms are really tough.
Yeah.
I like Liquid Death. It's water in a can, but I love telling people about it because of the way that it's positioned and the aura and the fact that it's integrated into, that more of that active lifestyle. So yeah, so you definitely want to build something that, people are organically talking about. And it'll be interesting too. I don't know if you saw Bose CMO is turning off half of its paid search budget on branded keywords, in half the country, to do a test and control to see if bidding on those branded keyword terms actually have incremental lift on its business. So it'll be really interesting to see how that turns out. But again, if you have a strong engine of consumers that are already referring a lot of other consumers to the product, you have something great on your hands, which is amazing. Derek, it's been great, talking to you and learning more about TextNow. I think it's a great place to stop our conversation. Hopefully, many more to come. And in terms of folks who are going to be listening to this conversation, where can they find TextNow, if they're interested in subscribing, and two, if anyone has questions for you or for the TextNow team, what's the best way to get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. Just search for TextNow in the App Store, Play Store. If you want to learn more as well, you hit our website at textnow.com. And then my email is extremely difficult to remember. It is derek@textnow.com. DEREK@textnow.com. So want questions, hit me up.
Excellent. Any other parting thoughts, quotes that you want to put out there, just based on your experience building TextNow?
The only thing I want to drop is like we are working really hard on the product, and there's a lot of good stuff coming. And we've got an exciting announcement towards the end of the summer, and we're always going to figure out ways to give more stuff away for free rather than charge people more for it. That's our mantra, is we always work hard to charge our customers less and give them more. So at the end of the summer, there's going to be an announcement of something to that effect. So I'm really excited.
Wow. Okay, so for everyone who's going to be listening to this conversation, follow TextNow. I'll include again the iPhone App Store, Play Store for Android, where you can find Derek and TextNow on social media. So you can follow them, their website. So for that big announcement, and also even before then, if you're interested